All right, let's continue to get you the latest coming in from Pahalgam. Viewers, at about 2:30 this afternoon, images coming in from Pahalgam which will leave an indelible mark on the psyche of every Indian. Images that we thought were over, where it came down to Jammu and Kashmir. Tourists have been attacked at the in Pahalgam. The latest also coming in, the Home Minister Amit Shah has left for Srinagar. He's en route, is what we've been given to understand. Shah will be in Srinagar today to review security and may visit injured in hospital tomorrow. Right now, the total fatality stands at 1. 1 has been killed, but sadly and unfortunately, one thing that we can confirm right now is that that count will go up. We don't know by how much, but will go up. I want to immediately cut across to my colleague Mir Farid, who's been tracking all developments since the course of this evening. He is in Pahalgam. Mir, what more can you add right now? The fatality stands at 1, but in all probability, unfortunately, we've been given to understand that count will go up. What's the latest that you're picking up right now?
Yes, Preeti, unfortunately, that is the dreaded news we are getting, but only from unofficial sources. As people on the ground tell us, even in the security apparatus, that the death toll is a lot higher. They are right now in the process of basically sanitizing the area because, as we have been saying, it's a meadow, it's a massive meadow, Baisaran. And even in the video that you would have seen, there are bodies that can be seen scattered. Now, first, let me show you. I'm in Pahalgam right now, and this area, this is the topography of the area. It's a very beautiful place of Kashmir, and that is why you had massive tourist presence. You couldn't get a single room. In fact, yesterday, if you would try to check in, you wouldn't find a single room. So that was the kind of response as far as tourism is concerned. And in one attack, Pahalgam right now is deserted, and at the same time there is a lot of tension in the air. Now, if you look at this particular valley, it is a valley, there are mountains around, and the Baisaran, that is the place where this attack took place. It's almost half an hour trek on foot or on horses. You can reach there, and that is why, as we've been saying, that they have meticulously chosen their spot of attack, because the reaction time would be a lot longer for the security forces, and by that time they could slip into this topography, this geography, these jungles. So it is the most important reason why they have chosen this area, and also they have taken their time. As we have been saying, they have really asked people about identity, and then they have shot people, and they have taken their time, almost 5 to 10 minutes they have kept on firing with their assault rifle. So it is a carnage in many ways. And again, I'll show you, I'll just try to show you how the build-up of the officials, the top police officers, civil admin, everyone is in Pahalgam right now. They're coordinating. First of all, they're trying to reach out to the victims, ensure that the injured get the best treatment. They are moved out in time to save their lives, and then also take stock of the anti-terror operation that is ongoing. Now, this is becoming even more high-profile for the officials here, because the Home Minister could also be here. So all the focus on Pahalgam, but a lot of tension right now here, a lot of security force movement, and unfortunately, these tourists just rushing out in a jiffy. Preeti? You know,
well, with what Mir is pointing out, I have been to this area. It's stunning. It's a meadow where Mir is standing. It's a valley. And these tourists were nothing but sitting duck. Look at it, the irony of it all. Till yesterday, Mir was saying there was not a single hotel room that could have been found in Pahalgam. And within the course of just 2 or 3 hours, viewers, because this terror attack happened at about 2:30 p.m. this afternoon. Till now, Pahalgam, Bahisar has turned into a ghost town of sorts, a steady outflow of tourists, and that was the real intent of it all, wasn't it? To give a chilling message where tourism in the valley is concerned. This has been, in recent times, as far as I can recall, one of the worst terror incidents in Jammu and Kashmir, attacking tourist viewers, because there's a larger message behind it. Mir, I want to bring you in again, because it does seem, that the hapless, innocent tourists were just sitting ducks where this valley was concerned. How many, is there a number? How many terrorists were there? Because they clearly sprayed bullets. Are we been given to understand where are they affiliated? Has any organization taken ownership of this?
TRF has taken responsibility. Now we know it is a shadow outfit of the Lashkar-e-Taiba, has been operational in Jammu as well as in Kashmir, especially post Article 370 abrogation. We know all the dynamics where the Lashkar Jaish were under the radar as far as the sanctions of FATF against Pakistan are concerned, and that is why these offshoots sprung up. You talk of PAFF, TRF, they're all Jaish and Lashkar. Now, we've been told that at least 3 to 4 of them, armed to their teeth, were present on the location, and for at least 3 to 4 minutes, in fact, almost 5 minutes, there was automatic gunfire that was rumbling in the area. So that really tells you the kind of carnage that they have orchestrated and the time they got. That's why this area has been chosen, because the reaction time was almost 1 hour, because for 30 minutes you have to walk on foot, and then also once the information goes out, it will take
Was there a number of tourists who were present there at this valley, this meadow that you're standing at? Was there a number? Were there many tourists there? And word got in very slowly because it's very far. You can only approach it by foot or on horseback. Can you take us through the chronology of what happened?
Well, it is around, the time was between 2:30 to 3 when the first gunfire was heard in the area. And we know it is an area where even you won't find good mobile or internet signal. So you had locals there, you had poniwalas, you also had some people selling tea and snacks. So that was all as far as local presence is concerned. But other than that, there were hundreds of tourists, families who had come from various parts of the country and were in Pahalgam. Now, Pahalgam, as you know, is one of the biggest tourist places of Kashmir. You don't just have Baisaran, you have Aru, you have Betab Valley, you have Chandanwadi, and then proper Pahalgam. So you have many places to go. And that is why tourists who come here stay for 2-3 days. So these people were in other parts of Pahalgam and now had gone to Baisaran for the horse ride, because you get lovely meadows. You can go through those meadows on a horse, and most of them had come on a horse. So it is during that time that this gunfire took place. For 3 to 4 minutes, locals say that they heard automatic staccato of automatic machine gun fire, and then there was an eerie silence. And then once the firing stopped, the locals went to the location. They saw people lying in pool of blood, dead bodies scattered everywhere, and there were some people who had been in a corner. There were ladies, mostly women, who were with their family members, and they were crying for help, absolutely not knowing what had really hit them. They were having fun, they had come for recreation, and suddenly their world just turned upside down.
Harrowing visuals, viewers, that are coming in, spine-chilling to say the least. And like I said, these visuals are going to leave an indelible mark on the psyche of India, because after a very long time, we've seen visuals like this, where tourists, innocent tourists, have been attacked in the valley. The message is clear on what the terrorists want to send, but in just a flash of a moment or gunfire, lives have been changed forever. I want you to listen in to some of the accounts that are coming in from the eyewitnesses who were present during this attack, and we'll cut across to Himanshu, because a lot happening back in Delhi as well. The Home Minister just about 20 minutes ago has taken a flight to Srinagar. But listen in to the victims.
क्या बोलते भेलपुरी खाली से मेरा पति साइड में था, एक इंसान है, उसने उसको गोली मार दी यहाँ पे। उसने बोला कि शायद मुस्लिम नहीं है, उसने उसको गोली मार दी। नहीं आप टेंशन मत लो, अब बेटा आप यहाँ पे रहो, हम साथ में। मैडम, ये जो वहीद साहब है प्रेसिडेंट, आप टेंशन मत लो, मेरे पति का बच्चा लो, हम बचा देगा, कोई बात नहीं। भाई तो करिए फोन, भगवान के लिए बचा लो। दब से मन युवा डिजाइन किया है, ठीक है, हम बचा देंगे ना, आप टेंशन मत लो। मैं आ रहा हूँ, मैं कहाँ पे आपका ये हस्बैंड क्या बोलते भेलपुरी खाली से मेरा पति साइड में था, एक इंसान है, उसने उसको गोली मार दी यहाँ पे। उसने बोला कि शायद मुस्लिम नहीं है, उसने उसको गोली मार दी। नहीं आप टेंशन मत लो, अब बेटा आप यहाँ पे रहो, हम साथ में। मैडम, ये जो वहीद साहब है प्रेसिडेंट, आप टेंशन मत लो, मेरे पति का बच्चा लो, हम बचा देगा, कोई बात नहीं। भाई तो करिए फोन, भगवान के लिए बचा लो। दब से मन युवा डिजाइन किया है, ठीक है, हम बचा देंगे ना, आप टेंशन मत लो। मैं आ रहा हूँ, मैं कहाँ पे आपका ये हस्बैंड।
हमारे सामने जब फायरिंग हुई तो ऐसा 2-3 गोलियां तक तो हम समझे नहीं कि ये क्यों, हमको लगा कि कहीं कोई फटाके फोड़ रहा, मगर जब आवाज़ें आने लगी लोगों की जोर से तो फिर हम लोग अपने आप को सेव करके और वहाँ से निकल लिए।
जो प्रशासन के लोग, पुलिस के लोग, सेना के लोग हमेशा पहलगाम में होते थे, वहाँ पर थे आसपास मौजूद?
हम तो नहीं देख पाए, हम तो अपनी जान बचा के भागे। हम तो परमात्मा
है, मिनी स्विट्जरलैंड में तो कोई इस तरह का कोई था नहीं, वहाँ पर कोई बल नहीं था।
कभी हुआ नहीं ना, ऐसे पैलेस पे कभी अटैक हुआ नहीं जहाँ टूरिस्ट ज़्यादा हो, ये शायद पहली घटना हो सकती है।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल आप सही कह रहे हैं। तो अभी जो है उसके बाद जो है खौफ जो है टूरिस्ट में, आप ही बात क्या रहे हैं पहलगाम?
हाँ, सब वापिस आ रहे हैं, पूरा डर गए हम तो, पर हम
50 किलोमीटर तक के कहीं रुके नहीं।
अच्छा इतना डर
बहुत डर थे, और हमने तो मौत को अपने सामने मौत से देखा है कि जो, और गोलियां मुझे ऐसा लगता है 100 राउंड चली है, मैं कांप रहा हूं अभी।
Tragic visuals, viewers. Pahalgam, till yesterday, not a single room available, and now a ghost town with a steady stream of tourists trying to flee Pahalgam at the back of what has just taken place. The messaging is very clear. How will the government now deal with the current situation? The Prime Minister has tweeted already. You've had the Home Minister, who, after holding a high-level meeting, has taken a flight to Srinagar. I'm joined by my colleague Himanshu, who's going to add more details that are coming in. The Defence Minister has tweeted out, Himanshu, the fatalities in all probability of what we are getting to understand will go up. The messaging is very clear, Himanshu. After the tourists were targeted, what does the government intend to do? There was a high-level meeting that the Home Minister chaired before he left for Srinagar.
देखिए बिल्कुल, एक होम मिनिस्टर ने सबसे पहले यहाँ हाई लेवल मीटिंग की, जिसमें वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंसेस के जरिए जो है मनोज सिन्हा जो वहाँ के एलजी हैं उनके साथ बातचीत की, आईबी चीफ को यहाँ पर बुलाया, होम सेक्रेटरी उनके घर पे थे, तमाम जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी लेवल के जो ऑफिसर्स थे वो एचएम के घर पर थे, और जब एचएम वहाँ श्रीनगर के लिए रवाना हुए हैं तो उनके साथ आईबी चीफ और होम सेक्रेटरी दोनों गए हैं। होम मिनिस्टर की तरफ से जो है एक्स पर पोस्ट किया गया है, जो भी इस घटना के अंदर इन्वॉल्व है उन्हें कड़ी से कड़ी सजा दी जाएगी, उन्हें बख्शा नहीं जाएगा, चाहे वो कोई भी हो। और आतंकवाद के खिलाफ जो भारत की लड़ाई है वो इस घटना के बाद और मजबूती के साथ लड़ी जाएगी। तो एक तरीके से भारत सरकार पूरी तरीके से मुस्तैद है कि जो कुछ हुआ है, जो उसके दोषी हैं उनको पकड़ा जाए, उनको सजा दी जाए, इसके लिए आगे कार्रवाई होगी। और जब गृह मंत्री अमित शाह श्रीनगर पहुंचेंगे तो वहां पर मुख्यमंत्री उमर अब्दुल्ला, वहां के जो लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर हैं मनोज सिन्हा, उनके साथ वहां के डीजीपी, वहां के जो होम सेक्रेटरी, उनके साथ बैठक करेंगे और उसके बाद ये तय करेंगे रणनीति के तहत कि किस तरीके से जो है वहां लोगों को जो है जिन लोगों ने इस घटना को अंजाम दिया है उनको पकड़कर सजा दी जाए, या फिर जो उनके साथ किया जा सकता है वो भारत सरकार और अर्धसैनिक बल जो है वहां करे।
Himanshu, bane rahiye aap hamare saath. Stay on with me, Himanshu. I want to just bring in my colleague Gaurav Sawant, who's been tracking developments very, very closely. Gaurav, like I said, tragic visuals that are coming in, hapless, innocent tourists being attacked, a larger message being sent out. But all of that also happens, Gaurav, in the backdrop of our Home Minister just about last week saying that we need to weed out whatever is left of terrorism. Tourist numbers had been increasing in the valley. We'd seen that in terms of numbers, a sense of normalcy there. So the messaging is very clear. On the other front, Gaurav, it also comes in the backdrop of the Pakistan Army Chief Asim Munir's outburst over Kashmir days after that.
Indeed, there are a couple of things which are extremely crucial at this point of time, Preeti. One, US Vice President J.D. Vance is in India. You'd recall when then US President Bill Clinton was in India, there was the Chitty Singh Pura massacre in which 37 people had been massacred. The point being that every time there's a major foreign dignitary in India, Pakistan state-sponsored radical Islamist terror wants to make an international point, wants to send across a message. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Saudi Arabia. 2019, you'd recall when the Saudi Crown Prince was coming to India, 2019, just before that, the Pulwama terror attack had happened. So all of these just indicate that Pakistan wants to send across that message. One, Kashmir is not settled. Two, when India says the only conversation with Pakistan is the return of Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, which incidentally includes areas of Gilgit and Baltistan, the areas that Pakistan calls its northern areas. Pakistan wants to send across the message or keep a gun to India's head for dialogue on Kashmir, which is, the territory which we have right now and not the territory which we hope to reclaim. So this is extremely significant, the timing of this terror attack and the fact that the most vulnerable are targeted, tourists, not protected, away from the roadhead, carefully chosen and identified. Non-Muslims, Hindus are killed, and those are eyewitnesses on ground saying, "Naam pooch ke identity card dekhkar goli mari." That's the message that they're sending across. Women spared. Told when a woman said, "You've killed my husband, kill me," they said, "No, go tell your Prime Minister this is what we've done." So that's the kind of messaging that's happening from terrorists. It's a very major signal being sent out.
You know, Gaurav, at one end, of course, India has to react, with full force, but they have to think on what they need to do, and they will do that. But on the other hand, where there's messaging concern, after the abrogation of Article 370, confidence building in the minds of tourists took years to make them understand that, you can come to Kashmir, it's open for tourism and you will be safe. That messaging took years, to be absorbed by the psyche of the Indian tourist, which always thought that the valley might have been a haven in terms of beauty, but in terms of safety, they were unsafe. Do you think there'll be a certain amount of regurgitation of all of that?
There will be fears, there will be apprehension. Each time terrorists have targeted tourists, there's been a drop in tourism. You'd recall, you and I were reporting when that bus full of pilgrims was targeted by Lashkar-e-Taiba of Amarnath Yatris. That time tourism had gone down. When those Bengali tourists had been targeted near Dal Lake in Srinagar, that time tourism had gone down. But those are temporary blips. The country's attachment with Jammu and Kashmir is so much that one, there is religious tourism, the Amarnath Yatra, the Shankaracharya Mandir, and now increasingly, going to the LC for the Sharda Peeth Mandir visit and darshan. So the effort is made. Okay, I believe the Union Home Minister is just getting there to Kashmir, and that is where we'll know when he assesses the situation on ground. A lot more, Preeti, will become apparent on ground.
India Today has accessed, viewers, the NIA probe details into this attack. Sources suggest security alert over terror hit squads. TRF's Falcon Squad behind Pahalgam attack. Falcon Squad supplied with sophisticated weapons. Recruit cadre via social media. The Pahalgam attack, of course, comes right before the Amarnath Yatra, viewers. I just want to put this in perspective. As we speak, there is enrollment that is happening for the for the Yatra, where the Amarnath Yatra is concerned, and there is clearly an aim to create fear among the pilgrims and tourists. Like I said, the messaging very clear. NIA team now will visit Pahalgam tomorrow to take further stock of the situation. Gaurav, what more can you add to all of this?
A terror attack is investigated by the National Investigation Agency so that all the wider points are accessed. So now we are looking at these first images of Union Home Minister's special BSF aircraft. It's an Embraer jet that will fly him to Srinagar immediately. That's a directive that's come from Prime Minister Narendra Modi that he should go to the ground, assess the situation, because Preeti, the apprehension is the casualty figures, God forbid, may be higher, and on-ground action is going to be very important, not just to take out these terrorists, but the overground workers who may have aided and abetted these terrorists. We are told more than 50 rounds or maybe even more were fired. Terrorists had a lot of time to fire and take down some of these tourists. So all of that information, it's only the NIA that can piece it together.
Well, so NIA has taken over the case, understandably. Those visuals that you see there, you can see the Home Minister's cavalcade pulling in. This was after a high-level meeting that he took on the security situation right now, and the immediate reactionary measures that we have taken at the back of this terror attack. He has left for Srinagar. You just saw visuals there. It seemed Manoj Sinha, the Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, also there. We're going to continue to get our viewers more because he was in a meeting with, the Governor of Jammu and Kashmir.
Very disturbing news coming in, Preeti. We are being able to now get more information from our sources in Jammu and Kashmir, and the death toll is much, much higher. The injuries are much higher. The information, Preeti, from what sources are telling India
20
today,
dead. Gaurav, the information we are getting in right now, and that's the news that we are breaking. And it's tragic, viewers, because from 1, the number has now jumped to 20. Over 20 are feared dead in the Pahalgam attack, and that's the latest news break that is coming in. Unfortunate, tragic, something, like I said, that will leave an indelible mark on the country's psyche, and we do hope the response is even harder. But 20 feared dead, Gaurav, that's, I would reckon, in recent history, for as far as I can recount, we haven't seen a worse terror attack where tourists are concerned.
When it comes to tourists, it is one of the biggest terror attacks that is taking place in Jammu and Kashmir. You'd recall in 2019 that the CRPF bus, which was targeted by Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists, that time 40 CRPF personnel had been killed. After that, terrorists have always made an effort, and their akas or their handlers across the border, that you keep it at an acceptable level. But this time, it's clearly way beyond that acceptable level that Pakistan wants to keep it at, that you keep bleeding India, instead of killing larger number of people in one instance, get the same number of casualties, but keep it at 5, 6 in every incident. You get the same 20 figure, but it's spread out. In this case, we are told 20 is a figure. My apprehension from what sources are telling India today, when all the bodies are recovered, when all the injured, there are some who are critical. The apprehension is, God forbid, we may have worse news for our viewers, and it's very unfortunate. We don't want to give them this sad news, but the situation is very, very dire in Kashmir right now.
You know, viewers, that's big news that's coming in, and unfortunately, we have to give you that information right now. That count from a fatality of 1 has risen to 20, as Gaurav also says. It could rise more. You know, we don't want to add to it, but what we can right now confirm is that the total fatality number stands at 20. And Mir, you were right, because that is what you had seemed to suggest. We didn't want to give out the numbers earlier till we got an official confirmation, because the visuals that came in after the bloodbath of the terrorists on these innocent, hapless tourists in that meadow, in that valley, where you can actually see them, you know, just sitting ducks as they sprayed bullets. The count now 20, and it could very well go higher than that, Mir. What are you picking up from your sources?
Yes, Preeti, that's the unfortunate bit of news. And as you rightly said, it can go higher. Sources say that it can even touch around 27. But again, as we have been doing this responsibly, we are not jumping the gun. We're waiting for official confirmation. But right now, this is the sad news that is coming in. It's a carnage. It's an absolute carnage. And as you said, it's a meadow, and they have done it with time at hand and shot people from very close range. So obviously,
Mir, are the injured? Mir, have the injured been? Mir, the injured, because you know a lot of them are critically injured. Were they given immediate medical attention? Where all have they been taken? Because 20 is the current fatality count, viewers, and we don't want to be alarmist. We didn't want to give out the figures earlier till we got an official confirmation. It stood at 1. But now, because so many were critically injured, sadly, the fatalities now stand at 20. The figure could rise even more than that. This is, at least in recent history, or what I can remember, the worst terror attack on tourists. The messaging is very clear, and we do hope as a nation that the response of India would be clearer. But right now, you know, it's a nation in mourning. We've lost 20 tourists who were there just, you know, enjoying themselves. There was confidence earlier, because it has taken years of confidence building measures. There was a certain amount of normalcy that had returned to the valley. The number of tourists in terms of sheer count and numbers had gone up to the very effect that till yesterday you could not get a single room in Pahalgam. And today, that's a ghost city, and that is the power of terrorism, and that is the sinister power of terrorism, viewers. I want to cut across right now. I also have my colleague Ashraf Wani, and we'll be joined by a guest shortly. Lots of breaking news coming in, urging patience with our guests. But Ashraf, you have spoken to many of the eyewitnesses. There's some on record, some off record. What do they seem to tell you?
Yes, absolutely. This death toll, what we are now, after the confirmation from the authorities, we are confirming that at least 20 tourists had been killed in this terror attack. But currently, what I want to show you, I am in the Srinagar. Home Minister is just within minutes reaching here, and you can see how the activities of the security agencies had been increased not only in the Srinagar city, but all across the Jammu and Kashmir, because this is a major terror attack in the decades, and also the tourists had been targeted which were never targeted by the terrorists in the 30 years of the insurgency in the Kashmir Valley. So clearly it seems that there is a kind of a frustration among the terror groups and their handlers across the border. They are not happy that the kind of the tourism boom which was currently being witnessed here, not only by the people who are associated with the tourists, but also by the authorities, because the Tulip Garden, which is the attraction of the spring tourism here in the Kashmir Valley, that has been visited by the more than 8 lakh tourists so far, and still people are going there. It is the double what the number was, last year was. We have already seen the maximum number of tourists last year. That number was going to be broken by the quantum and the number of tourists this year. So somewhere the frustration among the terror groups and their handlers, that is why these innocent people from different parts of the country had been targeted in the Pahalgam. And also we spoke to the eyewitnesses who were there on the spot when this terror attack took place. They clearly said, some of them who are visiting first time in the Kashmir, they got the morale when they saw the people from their areas, from their towns and cities are coming to the Kashmir and visiting to the Kashmir when the temperatures are going up all across the north and South India.
You know, and Ashraf, before I cut across to some of our guests, I want to ask you one question. At least till now, what we have seen, unlike other times, because we've seen a lot of politics where, you know, the Kashmir parties are concerned, but unequivocally, we've seen condemnation for this terror attack coming in from all sides. You know, attacking innocent, hapless tourists who were only there, number one. Number two, even, you know, where the regular Kashmiris are concerned, the economy was doing much better. There were people coming in. There was a sense of normalcy in life which was returning, and this is going to be a huge setback in all of that.
Absolutely, and that its impact has been seen today. The Pahalgam is the most attractive tourist destination in the Kashmir Valley, and just when I am talking to, there is not a single person in the Pahalgam. It has been completely vacated by the tourists themselves, and who did not want it to vacate. They had been pushed to vacate by the security agencies, because the most big and important priority for the security agencies is, unless and until those 3 terrorists which are believed behind this terror attack will not be neutralized or captured, still then the threat of the terrorism, threat of the attack is looming in the whole area. And not only on the tourists, but next month, in the July, on the 7th of July, the annual Amarnath Yatra is beginning, and the main base station of this pilgrimage is in Pahalgam only.
Exactly.
That is why the Home Minister himself a few days back chaired a high-level meeting where he was chalking out the security arrangements for this year's Amarnath Yatra. Then just after 7 days, he is coming back with the kind of a bad news from the valley that at least 20
You know, the news, Ashraf, could not be worse than
Pahalgam.
what it is this evening. 20 fatalities right now. You know, and unfortunately, viewers, it could rise. There are people who are tourists who are critically injured. We continue to get you the latest information, but it's heartbreaking what has just happened. Just at a time, it has taken years for Srinagar to come to where we stand today, a certain sense of normalcy, economic activity, locals, you know, feeling that. On the other hand, you'd seen tourism constantly go up year by year, and that takes years of confidence building measures, and all it takes is one incident like that to break the hard work or undo the hard work of all those years. And that is the tragedy of terror, the sinister power of terror. Right now, the 3 terrorists, and these are the initial information that is coming in, so we are only going to give you that. There were 3 terrorists, at least, you know, till now, the information that we had, who were involved in this incident. They are still at Raj. You can see a blanket of security force where Pahalgam is concerned. It's a ghost town right now. There is a search on for these 3 terrorists, but this is only the immediate retaliatory measures where India is concerned, and we are hoping, and there should be a larger message sent out by India. In what form it will be, we don't quite know. Joining me, Lieutenant General Rameshwar Yadav, retired former DG Infantry, Indian Army. We also have Sushant Sareen, strategic expert, with us. I'd like to go to the General first. General, you know, look at it in you know, how it's happened. you have the Vice President of America visiting India. You have our Prime Minister who's not in India right now. And you have messaging as big as this, clearly smacking of the frustration of terrorists. All of this in the backdrop of the Pakistan Army Chief Asif Muni's outburst on Kashmir just a few days ago.
You're absolutely correct. You see, it is an old pattern. It is nothing very new. Every time there is a high-profile visitor in our country, now this time it is Vice President of US. So they do something of this kind primarily to draw attention of the international community that Jammu and Kashmir is not stable. There is instability there and there is insurgency there. That is number one point that they have done. So they are trying to do strategic messaging across the world. That is first point. Second thing is this attack is linked to Pakistan in general and to General Asif Munir in particular, in my assessment. And I always hold that we must treat the disease and not the symptoms. What is happening, it is a symptom. And the disease lies across the LC. So we have to take care of that kind of a scenario. Now it is enough. I think we have to take some drastic steps so that to ensure that Pakistan is deterred from what they are trying to do as of now. Next point I would like to convey, Preeti, it is the timing and the place. The place which is one of the most attractive tourist destinations. Thereby indicate, and it is the beginning of tourist season. The last year, if you look at it, number of tourists which had come, it indicated normalcy in the entire valley. And this year, they do not want this thing to go on, thereby conveying a message that Kashmir is not safe for tourists. That one. Second thing is month of July, Amarnath Yatra is scheduled. And if you look at what Asif Munir said,
Sir, we've lost your audio link. We're going to try and reconnect that, but I'll just complete with what the general's trying to say while we try and reconnect that. Basically, you had the army chief of Pakistan give credence to the two-nation theory. But Sushant Sareen, a lot of that also somewhere down the line filtered through in this terrorist attack, because if we actually listen in to those clips that are, now going viral on social media, other than the helplessness and the desperation of these tourists, you can also see that there was clear religious profiling.
But, Preeti, what's the surprise in that? The entire Kashmir insurgency movement or separatist movement has been a religiously motivated movement. It's not anything else. And all this jihadism which has been happening in Kashmir is religiously motivated, and therefore religious profiling and religious targeting is par for the course for the terrorists. So I'm not surprised in that. I think.
Are you surprised, Sushant, at the scale of the carnage? Because till now we haven't seen it in recent history. What's the desperation behind it this time?
No, I'm not entirely surprised. Preeti, honestly, when I was seeing the initial pictures which were coming in and I was hearing reports of only one or two casualties, the pictures and the reports did not kind of match up, because we could see bodies strewn all over that, that entire area. And so I did fear that the casualty numbers would be much higher, which is why this is a massacre. There's no other way of putting it. But I think what is important from an Indian point of view is that, look, if we are saying that, look, we've had fabulous tourist season, then we should have anticipated that these buggers will try and attack tourists, right? And this is not a remote area, Preeti. This is like one of the most popular destinations, Pahalgam. Should the security presence not have been more robust in an area like this, especially given the fact that you've had clear threats emanating out of Pakistan, not just the army chief, but flunkies like Najam Sethi and others who in their programs have openly been saying that we are going to ratchet up tensions and terrorism in Kashmir is going to be ramped up simply because we think that Indians are involved in Balochistan, so this will be payback for it. Now, clearly you can add two and two together. And then on top of that, you have a high-profile visit, which is again fits a certain pattern. It has happened in the past. It's happened yet again. Chittisinghpura, again, more than 24 people were shot dead. Again, when President Obama was coming, there was an incident, a couple of incidents. And now, again, something like this has happened. So I'm not entirely surprised that something like this has happened, but I think we should also start anticipating when these terrorists are going to strike. I know it's easier said than done.
Fair point.
It's saying
Fair
that there
point. To
is.
look in, especially if there has been an intelligence failure on our part, it's something that needs to be dealt with. But Sushant Sareen, till now, because we've seen a lot of, terrorist activity over the years, and you're right, some of it has coincided, like the general also said, with high-profile state visits, especially when it comes down to when we have dignitaries coming in from the United States of America to constantly push the theory that all's not well where the valley is concerned. But, what we had seen was somewhere down the line, yes, the Yatris were attacked, some Gujarat tourists were attacked, but largely tourists were kept out of the ambit of terrorism because the locals also didn't quite support it because tourism supports their economy as well. So therefore, to see this kind of attack where the minimum fatality, Sushant Sareen, that you and I speak of today is just 20.
No,
Do you see a shift in strategy?
I think the number is much more than 20, unfortunately. But yes, you're right. Mostly there was a lot of pressure from within that, look, you can't be attacking tourists because, that's a kind of a lifeline for a host of people in Jammu and Kashmir. But the thing is that the puppeteers of terrorists sitting in Pakistan, I don't think they give a damn about the welfare of Kashmiris. They've never cared about the Kashmiris, and they will want to fight India till the last Kashmiri is alive. So I think it's very clear from their perspective that they would have instructed their mercenaries and their terrorists to go and create an incident of mass casualty, which is exactly what has happened. So again, no surprises out there. And I'm sure this is really going to spook a whole lot of tourists, especially in the valley. Maybe the Amarnath Yatra will still go ahead with a security.
The enrollment of the Amarnath Yatra, Sushant Sareen, is on. But, with the immediacy of how, it has spooked the tourists especially, and I'll give you an example in Pahalgam. Till yesterday, not a single room, and today it's a ghost town. All we can see is a steady stream of tourists who are making their way out of Pahalgam, and I'm sure will be making their way out of Srinagar. So years of confidence building, all brought to nothing with one terrorist activity such as this.
But,
yes. Make your point.
It's also important that, people in government, yes, we've achieved a lot in the war on terror, right? We've really achieved a lot. These kind of incidents notwithstanding. But the fact of the matter is that for governments to start declaring victory prematurely, even though you know that there is a Pakistan on your border, which is always, as long as Pakistan exists, it will be inimical, notwithstanding what certain former spooks tell. It's always going to be
a little premature to say that, weed out whatever's left of the terrorism. There's enough there. Okay, I'm going to come right back. Stay with me, Mr. Sareen. I want to cut across. And I'll go to Mir as well in just about a minute, my colleague who's joining us from there with more information. Because as we speak, viewers, there's a combing operation on. All tourists are out of Pahalgam. And right now, there are forces who are basically across Pahalgam, combing the area for the three, at least till now what we believe have been 3 terrorists who were engaged in this carnage that has taken right now 20 lives. Lieutenant General Rakesh Sharma, ex-Adjutant General and GOC Ladakh joins us. General Sharma, do you somewhere down the line, what we've been discussing is of course all of this timed with high-profile visits, but to the scale of what do we see? Do you see a shift in strategy where terrorists now attacking all out where tourism is concerned?
Thank you for inviting me. Firstly, it was a horrific attack, and our heart goes out for the people who lost their lives and the families. But having said that, the fact is that I think it was deliberately fanned by the Pakistan Army Chief in his speech last week, when he said Hindus and Muslims are 2 different nations. Then he labored on it and ranted about it for quite some time. Then he spoke about Kashmir in that manner, saying Kashmir, we fight for it. He's taking attention off Balochistan and attention off KPK, and he was exhorting people in Kashmir to rise against the Hindu population and against the tourists. So I think, we take it that it is a way of the Pakistani system where when they are pushed against the wall, which they are today, they have to draw attention away from it and get across another glue to bind their nation. That glue was what action has been taken out today in Pahalgam, where so many people have lost their lives. And having said that, I think this is a deliberate, well-planned, well-motivated, well-located, good selection of target, good selection of place where the target has been selected, and also the timing of it just before the tourist season is about to take off. And we've been gloating over the tourist season becoming such a big thing. So I think it was a well-planned, well-motivated, and well-orchestrated attack across into an area where the security forces are also not so densely deployed. So let me put it that it's a planned thing, and we need to attempt to come back in a planned manner against the perpetrators of this kind of attack.
Right, and somewhere down the line we were also caught napping, and as today the country wants retribution, wants revenge. Viewers, before I go to Mir, take a moment to reflect on the lives that were lost today. Because if you have seen even one clip that today unfortunately is viraling across social media, and hear into those eyewitnesses accounts, and I will play one of the eyewitness accounts as well now. Take a moment to reflect. It could be you, it could be any one of us, just there, taking those days off, going to the Kashmir Valley, driving up to Pahalgam, taking a little trek or sitting on the horseback. But the fact is, look at the tragedy of it all. 20 lives lost just like that, wiped out in a matter of moments. Take that moment to reflect on it, on how lives have changed forever for these 20 families. I want to go back to Mir, who's joining us right now from Pahalgam. Mir, combing operations on right now. What we've been given to believe, at least for now, that there were 3 active terrorists who sprayed bullets which resulted in this carnage. What's the latest update on that? What are you picking up from your sources in Pahalgam?
Well, Preeti, there could be 4 or even 5, because I spoke to one of the eyewitnesses, a Ghodewala, who said that he was there and the gunfire was coming from multiple directions. So it was not just 1 or 2 directions, it was coming from at least 3 to 4 directions. So that tells you that there could be more than 3, or in fact even 4 or 5. They were dressed in army fatigues and armed to their teeth. This is what our sources are telling us. But eyewitness account is very critical here, because eyewitnesses say that they suddenly heard gunfire from one side, and then all of a sudden it was multi-direction. There was staccato of machine gun fire, and not just 100. We've been told that at least 200 to 300 rounds have been fired of automatic rifles. So that tells you, and also the fact that so many people have been hit, casualties are so high, so many have been injured. So obviously there has been a lot of gunfire that has been opened on these sitting ducks, as you rightly call them, because they were absolutely unaware. They'd gone there to have some good time with their families, make memories for a lifetime. But all of a sudden, tragedy came, and how? This is absolutely heart-wrenching, and there were women who were spared, men were targeted, and then it took locals a lot of effort to connect to the administration, the army, police, tell them about what has happened. Then the reinforcements came in. And mind you, also the fact that there was a lot of time that was wasted in evacuating injuries. Now you can, minutes can be the difference, seconds could be the difference between life and death. You have people bleeding. So that also has taken lives. The time that it took to evacuate injuries from that location to the hospitals, that has also taken life.
Mir,
So in
number
many
one, why
ways,
did it
this has
take
been
so
very
much time? Because,
meticulously chosen,
why did it take so much time? Where were the injured rushed to? And in the 20 fatalities right now, Mir, and the many injured, are they locals as well in that, or are we looking at entirely a tourist count?
Well, at least 4 locals who are mostly poniwalas, and also people who were selling snacks, Maggie at that location, they have been injured, and at least one of them, we've been told, is critically injured. So it's not just tourists or non-locals, but locals have also been caught in the firing, and not even locals, not also even locals, but even horses who were there, because Bisonon is known for its horse rides. There were many horses, and even they have received bullet injuries. So that really tells you about the magnitude of firing. And to your question, why it took time, because as we've been saying, it's a far-off location. It is one of those cut-off locations of Pahalgam, which is a meadow, very beautiful. You need to trek, you need to go on a horse. It takes you almost 30 minutes to reach that location. So obviously, once people were injured, it took time to evacuate them in fact, on shoulders and various ways to evacuate them from the location to the nearest road from where they were taken in ambulances. So that window that was lost, obviously, you know, in an injured situation, it means a lot.
Were air ambulances also used in this?
So that is also... Well, yes, air ambulances did come in, but later on. In fact, we've been told that almost 45 to 50 minutes or 1 hour after the incident, choppers, Raptors came in, and we have army helicopters, mostly Raptors. Army helped in, and then those choppers were also used for aerial surveillance to track down these assailants. Preeti?
Well, that's tragic because that's on us. Thank you, Mir, for joining us. I appreciate all our guests for taking the time out. Thank you. That's all the time that we have for. But that's our continuous coverage over the course of the day, and I would think even tomorrow. Tragedy, viewers. 20 right now is what we know is the fatality in Pahalgam. It's, you know, we don't want to sound alarmist, but that count could rise higher than that. We're going to let it be. Our condolences to those who have lost their lives, the families there. And right now, of course, it's over to India for a reaction when, you know, how will India react in all of this? Right now, of what we do know is that the Home Minister has taken a flight. He's going to be landing any time now, any moment where Srinagar is concerned. Today, the Home Minister, after conducting a high-level meeting in the national capital, is going to stay put in Srinagar, take you know, account of the situation. Tomorrow, we believe he's going to be meeting the victims. And till now, that number of fatality of tourists are concerned stands at 20. It will, in all probability, rise more. One thing I would reckon that viewers, we can understand is the messaging behind it all. This is the worst terrorist attack on innocent tourists that we have seen in recent times, as far as my memory serves me. Cowards at that.